wings looked like, energy wings, and appeared to him, and he got a photograph of it. But you look behind this huge ball of light, and there's this crystalline city in the background. And I showed the picture to Michal Ledwith, who used to be an advisor to the Pope, and he said, that looks like the Dome of the Rock in the background, like an ancient crystal city or something. And it's like a whole dimension was opened up. And we've had that happen when that energy comes in. We actually move into a different dimension, and we can go into this further, we miss a lot of the earthquakes and things that happened even at ground zero because we're in a different frequency.
Wow. That's phenomenal. Now, you've had other apparitions show up as well, haven't you?
We have. We've had, Baba G's appeared here. We've had some great photographs of Mary. She appeared to him twice, and he was in one of the teacher's training classes I was teaching, and we felt Mary's energy come in, and I told everybody, I said, this beautiful divine feminine energy is coming in, and she's a universal being. Nobody owns her. She's not owned by any one religion. But she came in, and, everybody was sighing and just, felt the energy and having great heart openings and everything. And he's in the back, and he just goes, oh, like this, and he grabs his camera and takes a shot. And this time he has a camera now because somebody saw the other pictures, and they actually gave him a camera. And so he took a shot of her and just got a beautiful picture of Mary appearing over the group. And it's on all these pictures are on the website at eseti.org if you want to see them. And
I strongly advise the listeners to go to the website. There's some phenomenal photographs and video footage of all of these events. I just wanted to make a comment, James, that there are people listening to the show about UFOs and craft and so on, and our talk has been essentially about spirituality and the masters and higher frequencies and vibrations, which may be a bit of a surprise for some listeners. So what would you say about that?
That's one of the sad things about the UFO community is that it's so fractured and competitive, and they each seem to think they have the whole truth, and they have a piece of the pie, and they don't know how to get together and combine their information and work together and cooperate to bring out this information, because there's so many levels to this experience, and most of them are very threatened by the higher consciousness and energy or the higher dimensional levels of it. They don't even want to go there. They're trying to say it's unscientific, even though science does tell us that these levels do exist and these dimensions are real. But it's just having a little bit of knowledge and thinking you're an authority when you haven't had the experience. And, we have a lot of people come here with PhDs, and they try to, push, their authority card. And I tell them, I said, oh, really, do they teach UFOs in college? And they look at me kind of funny, Yeah. And I said, have you ever seen a ship? And they said, no. And I said, do you know anything about the beings on them, their culture, their drive systems, or anything? And they go, no. And I said, well, why? How does that help you here? How does that PhD help you in this experience? Why does this make you, an expert? And they usually get a little upset. And I go, if you want to know, then come and listen, but don't think you already know, and you come with your cup full, because you won't understand the experience. But there's a lot of jealousy on having this information, and the one thing they can't argue with is that we deliver. We deliver the ships. They come on regular basis. They come exactly when and where we say they're coming. Paranormal State was here, and the ships came in exactly when and where we said they would come. They had their cameras ready, and they got the pictures. Fox News came here. ABC came here. They've all come here, and they've seen the ships. And Danny Dyer just came here from the UK and traveled all over the world, to experience UFOs, and he came here and he experienced them firsthand and said he was on UFO overload. But what's amazing, even though we have all of this information and we're manifesting the ships for everybody to see, the UFO community is very threatened by this, and we're probably one of the most censored UFO hotspots on the planet because of this.
And so the manifestation of these ships, then, you can intentionally co-create with the beings to show up when you want them to?
Pretty much it's not so much my want. I can invite them, and most of the times they cooperate, but a lot of people want me to summon a ship on cue, and I go, it doesn't work that way. You know, you invite these beings, and if they're not busy and they're not doing some other real important work, they'll come and they'll make an appearance. And sometimes they tell me telepathically ahead of time when they're going to come, and they do show up. You know, but sometimes they're off working on other major projects, and they don't have time for dazzle duty. You know, to help our little egos, you know, open up.
Right, exactly. And how does it work telepathically for you? How do you get that information?
Well, basically because of the the long spiritual practice I've been doing, and it happens with other people too that are here. There's so many people that come here that have this automatic. It's almost automatic, and you just set your intention on them, and they start, you know, talking to you basically.
James, we're coming up to our final break, and when we return, I'm going to ask you to talk about what you know about the current changes that are upon us, which will be fascinating. This is Peter Tung for Awakening to Conscious Co-Creation. Welcome back to Awakening to Conscious Co-Creation and this wonderful discussion that we're having with James Gilliland. And I now want to ask James, with all of his experiences and communication beyond this realm with the higher dimensions, what he knows, what he's been told, what he's been shown about this current incredibly important and fascinating time in history that we are right in the midst of. James, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
You know, they've talked quite a bit about, they've given us a heads up on a lot of the changes that we're going through right now. And, you know, they talked about the expanding sun and the solar activity and, you know, the increase in earthquake and volcanic activity and tsunamis, and they gave us exact dates, which are on record. They gave us the San Francisco earthquake and then the Seattle one that hit here, and I went on Jim Birkeland's side and told him that one was going to hit here in Seattle, and it did hit right on the button. But it's quite interesting. But they're saying that this is all going to escalate, and it's very, very important that we shift frequencies, that there's different realities that are going to be unfolding. And some people say there's as many experiences as there are people that are going to unfold, because we're all making choices and acting on those choices. And so it depends on you know, those choices and our frequencies, how we're going to have this experience. But what I see is the civilization that we're in now is completely unsustainable. It on every level. And everybody knows that. I mean, everybody has seen what's happened with the economy. You know, there are so many people that are homeless. We're seeing just reckless greed out there in the Gulf, you know, and oceans being destroyed, and, you know, the banksters and all these other things that we're seeing unfolding right now. And in a way, it's a good thing because it's all being exposed, but there's some very painful lessons that are coming with these experiences. But they've been talking a lot about this escalating, and that eventually there would be, they talk about two worlds. And when I first heard this, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. But when you start looking into, you know, the other world theories or many world theories and different timelines and all these new physics, quantum physics, it starts all making sense. And I've seen people gravitate to certain areas that need major cleansing because it aligns with their frequency. And other people's moving out of areas because it doesn't align with their frequency anymore. They're being told within that they need to go here or there, and are just moved out of certain places. But the Earth is going to go through a major transition and healing process, and where we are in that transition is basically up to us. And you know, some people say, you know, well, I know some really beautiful people living on the coast, and I said, they are beautiful people. They're very wonderful people. The problem is they're just bad listeners, you know. So there will be movement, you know, definitely be water movement, a lot more earthquake and volcanic activity, and some major, you know, shifts coming up with the sun, which is going to, you know, wreak havoc on the grid. Every grid system we have, the electrical grid, the internet, you know, all your information for your plastic cards, everything is not going to be doing too well. It's going to go through some huge shifts. But, you know, on the physical, that's what they've been talking about. But they're telling us that we had a group in Hawaii, and actually I'll be speaking at that conference with Dr. Sala here in December. But we had a group that got together, and we did an intention experiment, and we brought in Ezekiel's energy, and we all got higher than a kite. The room got really hot, really warm, and everybody was just totally blissed out, and we had a 5+ earthquake happen right underneath our feet during that process. Well, nobody in the group felt it. We didn't even know what happened. And when we walked out of the hotel, everybody was outside of the hotel just completely freaked out and all scared and afraid to go back in. And we asked them what happened, and they looked at us really funny, like, what's wrong with you? Where were you? And I said, I was in the hotel. And they go, you didn't feel it? They go, everybody felt it. And they said it shook the hotel pretty violently. And I said, no, we didn't even know what happened. So there are ways of rising out of one frequency into another and, missing some of these events. And that's basically what we need to do. We really need to clean up our consciousness, clean up all the past life trauma, clean up the wounds from, age 1 on, and get our frequencies up and align ourselves with the God within and make our own personal God connection, whatever name you want to give it. But in these times, we all need to move in that direction. And, or as eternal beings, we may have to come back in diapers and start all over again. But, yeah.
And have you been given a specific timeline for these further disruptions?
Basically, we're in it now. We're moving into it. It's been happening, and it's growing exponentially, and it's just around the corner. They've been saying some huge shifts coming in November. I'm feeling that, I'm not really sure about this. I haven't been able to get the details on this yet, but I know there's some major social, economic things coming down the pike here in the last of this month and November, and, elections and everything else. And I think people are very close. I hate to use the revolution word. I'd rather see evolution, peaceful evolution happen, but I think we're getting really close to where people are just done, with the old program, and it's going to have to change.
Yeah, and that's being shown in a whole bunch of different areas, not just financial, government, education, medical. It's in all those old paradigm systems, isn't it?
Yeah, we have to reevaluate our relationship with the earth, with each other, start living in harmony with the land and each other, and live a life of service. And if we do that and listen to that voice within, we'll be guided and we'll get through this process. But if we keep going with this competition, me program, separation game, we're going to be caught off guard, and that game is coming to a close.
So, James, we're coming up to the end of the show, and it's been an absolutely wonderful hour spent with you. Just remind our listeners of your websites and how people can make connection to you and to the ECETI Ranch. Great.
Yeah, they can go to ECETI.org. It's ECETI.org, and there they can get the books where I've written down all these experiences, and the healing techniques and everything else are in the books. And they can see the footage, of the ships flying over and interacting with people, as well as the photographs of the masters appearing at the ranch.
Fantastic. Well, I really have enjoyed this time with you, James. It's been absolutely fantastic, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for being such a great host.
Thank you so much. Phew, I'll take a deep breath there after that wonderful information. And just quickly to tell you, my guest next week is another outstanding person in the field, William Henry, who will be talking about the sacred geometrical patterns of the Capitol building, light body activation, and his new DVD about to come out called Soul Rising. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and have a wonderful week. Enjoy your 10-10-10. This is Peter Tung for Awakening to Conscious Co-Creation.
You found this week's show to be enlightening and inspiring. Please join host Peter Tung for another edition of Awakening to Conscious Creation next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific Time on Seventh Wave Network.